let's just begin. Okay, mindful eating. Now, some of you tuned in for the last session we done on mindfulness, and before we begin any practice, any mindful practice, it's always worthwhile to remind ourselves of the definition of mindfulness. The definition, according to the sort of founding father of mindfulness, Jon Kabat-Zinn, is as follows: paying attention to the present moment non-judgmentally as though your life depends on it. Paying attention to the present moment non-judgmentally as though your life depends on it. What a statement that is. I prefer something a bit more kind of short and concise, and that is laser focusing on the present moment as though you're trying to impress yourself. Now, with that definition in mind, let's go forward. So, what is mindful eating and how is it an advantage? How can it benefit your life? Well, first consider how we eat. You might actually not be fully aware of how you eat or you're eating your particular individual eating habits until you actually raise your awareness, sit down, ground yourself and fully immerse yourself in those habits, in that ritual of sit down and how you consume your food. And when you do that, it's actually really surprising. In fact, it's really frightening how you go about eating your food, because food is a blessing, and more often than not we don't see it as a blessing. We just gobble that food down, and before you know it, we've had a large plate of food and we've not really embraced it, we've not really fully felt it and enjoyed it. So mindful eating, the practice of mindful eating can be a practice to, one, help you enjoy your food, two, really help you limit your portion sizes. So if you are, say you're trying to lose a bit of fat, a little body fat, a little bit of weight around about the belly, then one helpful tip is to be mindful in the size of the plate that you use. So if you sit, you know for a fact, if you're having, say for example, a Chinese takeaway, and it's a Saturday night, it's your cheat meal, pizza, whatever it is for you, everyone's different, everyone has different eating habits and rituals, but say you're eating a takeaway and you have a massive plate and you just fill that plate, you will do your damnedest to consume that and full entire plate. However, a more mindful strategy would be to reduce the portion sizes and consume that food mindfully, i.e. slower, with more awareness, with more compassion. And when you do that, of course you enjoy the food so much more, but if we're talking about weight loss and trying to reduce the body fat in our body, then actually it's scientifically shown that it takes quite a few minutes for your food to be swallowed, go down through the esophagus, through the small and large intestine and find its place in your colon, then your enteric system, your stomach's immune system, to register that for the little guy that sits in there to say, okay, here's some data, here's some information just been implanted in our belly. Okay, is it good, is it bad, is it nourishing, what is it, how much of it is there? And then it has to send signals up through your vagus nerve and into your brain and modulate that to tell your brain, okay, you've eaten enough, you're full. That takes a few minutes. That can take up to 10-15 minutes. Now you can just gobble your food down, or you can eat it slowly, reduce the size, be more mindful of your portion sizes, and you can do what the Japanese do also. The Japanese, there's a place in Japan, I can't remember the name of the island, but they're known as having the greatest abundance, the greatest number of centenarians, people who live to 100 and over. And there's a documentary called I think it's the Blue Zone, and there's a number of blue zones in this earth, and one of them is in an island in Japan. And when this gentleman who was hosting the documentary visited this place in Japan and asked the residents who were, they were living beyond 100, and they weren't just living beyond 100 in age, they were very, very healthy with it, so they didn't have any disease and disorder. And one of the responses that they gave to how they lived a healthy, long, living and prosperous life was that they recited this tool of the mind, this mantra, before they consumed their food. So they would sit down, ground themselves, breathe, They would generally be in a group, but there'd be no distractions like television as we normally do, phones, devices around. So they'd sit down, they'd maybe say something in religious terminology, or they'd give gratitude and thanks, which is very important. And then they recite the Japanese term, Hare Hachi Bu, which literally in English translates as 80% full, or 8 parts of 10 full. And they suggest that by being mindful of this Hare Hachi Bu, this 80% full mantra, they really enjoy their food more, and they don't get to that point where they're bursting, which is important for longevity, because the strain that you put in your gut and your microbiome and your stomach and the enteric system is vital, because the more we strain the gut, the more likely it is to cause an impact in the gut cell wall. And if you damage your gut cell wall, then you're going to experience things like skin rashes, IBS, anxiety, depression, autoimmunity and such. So before you consume your food, you want to sit down, you want to breathe in, breathe out, and recite the Japanese term, Hare Hachi Bu, remaining mindful of your food and how you're consuming it, and just when you get to that sort of sweet spot, that 80% full. Now, I understand that most people their lives are conducted in a way that they can't actually eat mindfully all the time. Now, I don't eat mindfully all the time. I'm not some sort of Zen Buddhist monk or whatever, a spiritual warrior. I am a normal person, I live a normal life, I run a business, I have a relationship, I have friendships, I have things that I need to do on a daily basis, so it doesn't always afford me the time to eat mindfully. But it's good to be mindful of that, and in fact, maybe once a week, or just try it for the very first time, eat mindfully. I sat down this evening with my girlfriend, and she's been away for a number of days in Milan, and we sat down and we sat round about the table. So there's some things that I want to become salient to you throughout this conversation this evening, and I'll re-emphasise them and I'll highlight them. So when I say sit down at the table, consider the last time you sat down at a table with even on your own or with your friends and family, and had no distractions, nothing but you, 4 entities sitting in a space, enjoying food, giving thanks for that food. Now, it might seem woo-woo, but it's actually not. It's a beautiful thing. And it's actually shown that one of the foremost important things to our longevity and our health is connection, is community. And the presence of food can help to bind that, and bind us socially, and sort of enhance our connection, our connectivity with each other, and of course thus then benefit our well-being. So you want to sit at a table. Table is the cornerstone for family. The table is the cornerstone for gracing and being grateful for food and the things that we've worked for, and it's an award for all the things that we put ourselves through on a daily basis. So I would suggest that you turned off your devices when you're going to eat mindfully. 100%. Turn them off. Even put them out of your a bird's eye view. Just put them in another room, turn them off, airplane mode, or switch them off. Turn your television off. Any other distractions, maybe you've got a dog that barks, get that out of the room, put it in its kennel or whatever for half an hour. This is all about you, your food, and your well-being. And sit down. Maybe the lighting in here is quite calm. And it's important to have a calm environment when you're doing this, because you're really setting yourself up for failure if you don't have a calm environment, because you're going to have so many distractions. It's all about that one-pointed focus in mindfulness meditation. Remember, we're laser focusing on the present moment. We're trying to impress ourselves. So to have that one-pointed focus and really set yourself up for success, then you really need to make sure your environment is calm, because the human body has what's known as mirror neurons, and mirror neurons mimic and respond to things in our environment. Mirror neurons are what is involved when we learn. So there's social learning theories, which is very important. I'm going to touch on a little bit later, but social learning theories suggest that you take on board that which your environment is. I'll get to that later, but imagine you're trying to create a conducive environment to really feel and vibe your food and enjoy it, because the ultimate goal is happiness, is well-being, is to have as many beautiful moments in a daily life, in a weekly, monthly, yearly decade basis. It's just to prolong satisfaction and reduce suffering. That is the ultimate goal for everyone, I believe so, and I'm sure you would agree. Thumbs up if you agree that that is the ultimate goal. And so to do that, you really need to set yourself up the environment for success. So TV off, quiet, dim the lights, light some candles, put some energy into your food. I always say how you do anything is how you do everything. So what you'll find is that if you can really embody this criteria for mindful eating, if you can silence yourself, if you can raise your awareness, if you can consume the food slowly and really drink in and elevate your senses and enjoy it in a blissful manner, then that practice, that mindful practice will help. It will extend to every other area of your life. How you do anything is how you do everything. I almost find that when I'm in a mindful state, it benefits everything. It doesn't just benefit my mindful eating. It doesn't just benefit my relationships, my communications. It benefits everything. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. Now, I need to just refer to my notes because I've got so much stuff I want to share with you guys this evening. Okay, here's a great tip that I learned. When you're sitting down to your food, and even though you're eating mindfully, it's so easy to get lost in those sort of sporadic and reactive thoughts because we've been conditioned for so long in our lives to eat for pure gluttonous reasons. You think, when was the last time you sat down and ate mindfully? When was the last time in your life you came across someone having a discussion like we are now about mindful eating? When did you actually see someone doing it? Because it's not a common pattern. The common paradigm, the common conditioned way is to just gobble your food down. And if this is your very first time eating mindfully, when you consume your food, and even though you're eating mindfully, you'll forget and you'll realise that before you know it, you've swallowed your food. You've chewed your food maybe 4 to 7 times maximum, and it's already down your gullet, which is unbelievable if you can think about it, because to really healthily eat your food, you need to chew it. That's why we have teeth. Look at these teeth. That's why we have gnashers, because when you consume food, these are like a masticating juicer. A masticating juicer. They masticate, they crunch, they grind, they devour your food. The more you chew your food, the more the body produces the enzymes to digest the food. So believe it or not, when you chew food, your body is triggered to create enzymes, digestive enzymes. The 3 most important ones are amylase, protease and lipase. Now, if you eat mindfully, you don't need to go and buy those plant-derived supplements for a store, because most people who have digestive issues, they go and buy plant-based supplements, digestive enzymes. I did this too, and I honestly think there's no need for them. If you can ground yourself in life and always carry that with you, Harry Hatchie Bo, eat mindfully, one-pointed focus, laser focusing. If you can do that, then you can really benefit yourself. Another good tip is, so Zen Buddhist monks and Gandhi and all these sort of philosophers, this is a Confucian. So Confucius, if you don't know, is an Eastern philosopher from about 2,500 years ago, and there's particular philosophies that surround and incorporate mindfulness, and it's Confucianism, Zen Buddhism, and there's one more, I forget it now. But essentially, they all focused on mindful eating, and what they suggested to do was to, rather than chew your food and consume it just as you would, chew it 30 times. Not 10, not 20, but 30 times. And the more you do that, the more you'll realise and become aware of how much you just gobble that food down and swallow it. And that doesn't lead to enjoyment, and it also doesn't lead to a good, healthful practice. Excuse me. So if you chew 30 times, just remember yourselves 30 times. Confucius, just recite something. Use, the minute you sit down at the table, be mindful and just trigger yourself to say something, a particular word, and when you do that, then you chew 30 times, and it will become astoundingly apparent to you that you chew very few times as you eat your food. And if you can chew 20, 30 times, obviously build up to it, because believe me, it is really difficult. Even if you are aware of it, even when you're chewing, your body will just be so reactive. You're just conditioned to swallow. So if you can just bear that in mind and continue to take more bites, then you're producing, the more you chew your food, the more those those digestive enzymes are produced. The protease, the amylase and the lipase. You can check it out. You spell amylase like Amy-Lase. And check them out, amylase, protease, lipase. The more you chew, the more they produce in abundance, the more they can go to really break down the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats, and thus deliver it to your stomach, and then that means that your stomach doesn't have to work on it as much, and it benefits your intestinal organs, which benefits the entirety of your body, because food is medicine and your gut is the most important, I believe it's the most important organ, akin to, it's sort of aligned with the brain in the body. Okay, some additional, here we go. So while you're eating and while you're consuming this food, be very aware of the thoughts that come up. Be aware of the relationship you have with your food in that moment and the thoughts that come up. This evening, when I was eating, I was like, gobble this food down, Ross, because you've got a live video feed to do. Gobble it down quick, eat it. No, be patient with it, Ross. Be patient with yourself. Have compassion for your food. You're nurturing your body by putting this into your body. So be aware of what comes up. So for me, what came up was agitation, was anxiety, was hurriedness. But for you, it might be, you could be sitting at the table and you might be thinking, it might be deservance. I actually don't deserve to enjoy this food. It could be that you don't have time. Well, if you don't have time for you, your food and your nurturance, then you really need to start to strategically look at your life and question how you operate in life. If for you, it's, say, pain, maybe pain comes up when you're eating your food, maybe some form of pain, maybe you've attached, maybe food has become such an emotional thing for you. You use it to guard and push down and suppress emotional trauma. So just be very mindful of the thoughts come up, because there will be there will be profound thoughts that come up that you just won't ever notice, because you're too in the motions, you're too hurried in your behaviours and how you endeavour to eat your food. What else we got here? Oh, here's a cool one. So it's always good to play games with yourself when you're trying to engage in new habits. I always find that works well for me. So if you're trying to eat mindfully, then a really good sort of game you can play with yourself, if you've watched the programme, is pretend that you are a chef on the programme, Master Chef. Pretend you're sitting there with a meal and you are a food critic. So how would you go about that? You'd be sitting there, you're on MasterChef, you're the dude, you're the shit, you're the food critic, you are the man, and you're there to really just taste this food in its entirety. Be the critic, drink it in, consume it, look at it, observe its shape, look at the texture, the aesthetic of it, the scent, everything about it, and take your time to just observe that fully, not just to look, but to observe. When you're eating, it's always important to remember these three things. Don't just swallow, taste. Don't just look, observe. Don't just exist, live. So those are three things to remind yourself of. It's always good to have little thoughts, little things going on in your mind that keep you motivated and focused and keyed in and zoned in that moment. You could call it zened out. So it's the three things to remember are: don't just swallow, taste, don't just look, observe, and don't just exist, live. And that's when you're fully present, the power of now, fully mindful. So play a little game with yourself and be your own food critic. And you can have that mental discourse in your game where you're in your head, where you're imagining yourself, okay, I'm this person, I'm superior and I'm the food critic, and then you could sort of make judgments on the food and say, oh, that's a phenomenal. You could even have a little sort of different accent in your head, and you could say, look, that's a phenomenal meal. That texture is so succulent. The way it just melts in my mouth, and the sugars and the sweetness or the bitterness, the crumb, the bite, all those different things that are involved in food, and you just become an artist of how you express yourself in dealing with food, and the more you can become, the more you can create an elaborate game in your mind in this moment, the more you can connect with the moment, the more you can live in the present, and again, that's the ultimate goal, and this is what this discussion is about. Okay, so I did touch on earlier on, I touched on social learning theories. I wanted to go back to that. Social learning theory is a social psychological theory promoted by one Albert Bandura, and this was really sort of put forward and thrust into the limelight back in the 50s, 60s, I believe, through an experiment called the Bobo doll experiment. And what they found was that, and I'll link this back to mindful eating in just a second. So in the Bobo doll experiment, what they found was that they had a number of kids, and they exposed the kids to an adult beating up a fake doll. So they would get in, and the adult would slap the doll around, and the adult would continually get more aggressive. And so they had two groups. They had three groups. They had one group of children. The adults were nice to the doll. They had another group of children, group 2, where the adults were only somewhat aggressive and more playful, and then they had group 3 where the kids were exposed to the adult being very aggressive, slapping the doll, using tools to beat the doll, that sort of thing. And what they found was that after the kids were aware of these, after they perceived acts that the adults engaged in, they were more inclined to mirror these social behaviours, i.e. social learning theory. So what the child was actually seeing and witnessing, they were taking on board in their young, naive minds, and they were then acting in that particular way. Now it's very pertinent to everything in life and how we behave, but to relate it back to this mindful discussion on mindful eating, think how your parents, grandparents, and the people that you've been exposed to in life ate. Think how they consumed their food. Think about their relationship with food. And now think about the people that are in your immediate environment that you see on a daily, weekly basis. It could be a partner, it could be your children, it could be your co-workers, your friends, associates. Now think for a single moment, think about the last time you saw a few of those people eating. Hopefully you've got a memory in your mind. Now, you may not be fully aware of it, but subconsciously you're recording that information, and that's going into your subconscious mind, and that's creating what's known as a mental schema, a way of doing things in the world that you then becomes embedded in your psyche for life. And unless you're fully conscious, and of course you can change it, so don't be worried, you can change these things. But think of how that's spanned out throughout your life, and all the unhealthy people that have been involved in your life. And I don't mean unhealthy as in unhealthy to your well-being. They might be very good to you and for you, but I'm talking about their relationship with food and the habits that they put forth in their eating practices. Now, I know a lot of people that eat in a gluttonous manner. I do it. Everyone does it. Doesn't mean because I'm talking about this I don't do it. If anything, I do that. I'm really interested in this because I'm quite a gluttonous, greedy eater at times. But mindful eating is really helped me help my digest, because I used to get a lot of heartburn and I used to always be on the rennies, believe it or not, years ago. And so mindful eating and slowing things down and being a food critic and really reciting these phrases and terms that we've been thrown around about has really helped me, has really helped my gut and my GERD and my acid reflux. So just think about those social learning theories and think back to the times when you've experienced someone who's just been eating gluttonous in a greedy manner. Or how you eat when you're in a, you know what it's like when, I see this all the time when I'm walking down Glasgow Main Street and I'll look in maybe Nando's, for example. And for those of you who watch this video who aren't familiar with Nando's, Nando's is just like a sort of somewhat healthy eatery that loads of young people go and frequent and eat food together. But anyway, generally when I walk by, I'll see all these young groups of people, adults also, and they'll be involved in small groups and they'll be eating, they'll be consuming, but they aren't aware, and they'll have their phones out. Now, we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. I'm no better than them, but it's always better to be mindful of this, because when you're eating, when you're sat in a group of people and you're exchanging some non-present, in those moments, non-present discourse, and you've got your phone out, then, and there's people walking by, and there's, you know, there's music, and there's a multitude of stimulus surrounding you, then how can you be fully aware of your mindful, healthy eating habits? You can't, it's impossible. All this multitasking malarkey is bullshit. You want one-pointed focus, because the ultimate aim is what? Happiness. The ultimate aim is satisfaction, is to enhance happiness and reduce suffering. And all you're doing is enhancing suffering in that moment. Now, you're never going to be perfect. It's never going to be, success is not linear. You're going to be all over the place, but just being aware and coming on and engaging in this discussion tonight, it says something about you and who you are and your personal development, how you want to go forward for your life. Now, do you guys have any, so there's quite a few of you logging in, do you guys have any questions? I'm just probably going to talk about one final point, but I'd like to answer some questions if you have any. Let me know if you're enjoying this discussion, give me a little thumbs up, let me know how you're getting on. Let me see, was there anything I didn't cover? Following sensation. Just over my hand. Yeah. So, when you are eating mindfully, just remember when you're chewing it and you're taking in all the senses, you know, the smell, the scent, the taste, the texture, you look at it, you observe it, you drink it in fully. When you swallow it, don't just forget about it there and then. Actually, follow the food down all the way, mindfully, to where it rests in the stomach. And feel that sense of satiation. Feel that sense of appreciation and compassion and just love and joy for your food. Because also, the more you can become mindful of your eating habits and your rituals when you engage in eating food, the more you start to realise, okay, I'm going to start elevating the standards by which I live my life. I'm going to start consuming more healthful, more nutrient-orientated food. And again, every habit, every positive habit that we can engage in, endeavour in and pursue and allow to become automatic, it stacks and influences the rest of our life. Now, one final point would be to eat with your non-dominant hand. So you're consuming your food. I would suggest that you eat with your non-dominant hand, because obviously you're more, you have more complex. So my right hand is my dominant hand. I have more complex motor movements because I've been using this throughout my life. I can use this in a more complex and intricate manner. However, my left hand, my less dominant hand, is you know, it's a fantastic hand. Grateful for that hand, but you can't use it in the same way you can with your right hand, and that is a disadvantage at times. But in this sense, with mindful eating, it is advantageous. Why? Because you don't have the same motor control over it, and therefore you'll eat slower. So you'll break the food off a little bit slower. It will slowly, maybe shakily come up to your mouth, and then you'll consume it. So it slows the process down. It's all about slowing this whole process down. Make sure you have the time to engage in mindful eating. Block out the time, 30 minutes. This is my time now to engage in mindful eating. Use your less dominant hand. And then lastly, I would say check out online. So go online and check out if you really want, this is a habit that you're really interested in, you're like, okay, I want to pursue this stuff, this is fantastic, I want to pursue it. Check out a mindful fork. It's a little gadget. If you're a bit of a tech head like me, then check out this fork. It's called the Happy Fork. Came across this about 2 years ago. I have I used to have a subscription to a scientific sort of gadget orientated magazine. I don't have it anymore, but sometimes I buy it. And in that, I found this article on the Happy Fork, and it's an electric fork linked up to an app. And basically, all the things that we're talking about just now are the criteria by which that analyses and measures. So, what it does is it counts the number of times in one food engagement, the number of times you put your fork up to your mouth. It counts the pace at which you put your fork up to the mouth. It counts, sorry, bit of low battery. It counts the time you take to consume your food and other things, and then it relays that back to an app, a smart app, and it sets out your analytics and how you're performing. And then you do that over a week, 2 weeks, a month. You can see, okay, I need to work on this particular thing, I need to work on that particular thing, and slowly but surely you can go, oh, here's some trends here that I need to work on, here's something I need to highlight and be more mindful of, and then you can start to adjust these things, and over time you can see your progression. Because if you want to pursue anything, if you want to change anything in your life, then you must measure it. I've went round in circles so many times in my life and I haven't measured things, and you don't really fully know something until you journal, until you're mindful, you become self-aware, you measure it, you have some objective measures and means put in place. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this evening. That was a discussion on mindful eating. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them down. I hope you're enjoying the group. I hope